Hello everyone and welcome, Dom here, and today I'm really happy to show you and play for you Materials, Metal and Ice from Magnetic 96, a brand new instrument for HALion, HALion Sonic and HALion Sonic SE. This instrument melds extraordinary sounds of a masterfully sampled brass ensemble and various metal-based instruments into rare analog and digital synthesizers, along with sound effects recorded with ice and all kinds of metal objects. It's focused on extended playing techniques, unusual recording methods and deeply processed sounds with powerful modulation options, FX processing, wavetable synthesis and the granular engine. This is the perfect playground for creative ideas and an extraordinary instrument for cinematic productions. So let's dive in. What I'm gonna do in this video is I'm going to play as many sounds from Materials, Metal and Ice as possible so that you can hear what kind of sounds you can get out of it, but I'm also going to show you how the interface works, what are all the little secrets that we have inside the interface so that you can create your own sounds, because it's a lot of fun creating sounds with Materials, Metal and Ice. So to begin with, let's start with some sounds. This is the interface, and as you can see, it's super simple, super clean. But if you want to dive in and start crafting your sound, it has all the options that you need. So let's play the first preset. This is called Ancient Cave. So as you can hear, really deep, complex sounds that evolve over time, and you will find that this is a recurring theme with the sounds that we have in Materials, Metal and Ice, because the engine allows you to create all these nice morphing textures. So as you can see, we have 4 different layers here, and you can tweak them and edit them to your heart's content. Before we start doing this, let's play some more of the presets. Let's try this one. This is called Bowing Ice. So nice, beautiful, saturated sound. And with this sound, you can hear the combination of the engines that we have in Materials, Metal and Ice. So we have, if I click on this, a granular synthesizer, and we also have 2 sample engines right here. And I'm going to explain all of this later on. Let's play a couple more sounds. Now the great thing is that it's so easy to come up with sounds like this on your own, like super complex and intense sounds, just by tweaking all the different parameters that we have inside the engine. Beautiful. Nice and deep. And you will see that all these really organic sounds that you find in materials, metal, and ice can add a very nice layer of color to your sounds. So you might have like a synth sound, and then you add a layer like this, and it becomes something completely different, something unheard of. Okay, I want to take this sound as an example to start showing you around the interface a little bit. So as you can see, when you load a preset on materials, metal, and ice, we have 4 layers, right? So in this case, I have this layer. I can open it, I can see what we have loaded here, and this specific one is called garbage. So this uses this specific sample here to create this sound. Let's try the second layer. If I click on this, I can go to the second layer, and this is the typewriter layer. So what about this one? This layer is the electric overtones layer. And the last one is called dark tube. So let's isolate every single layer and let's see how they sound on their own. So this is just the garbage. Very, very interesting. Typewriter. Electric overtones. This is lovely. And the dark tube. Has this beautiful modulation effect there. So let me show you now how you can start creating your own sound with materials, metal and ice. To begin with, you can start modifying one of the existing presets. For example, if I take this preset, okay, let's say I want to change the first layer. So I can go here and now I can pick out of all these different sound sources. So depending on what kind of sound source you're going to select, you might have a sample, you might have a wavetable based synthesizer, or you might have a granular synthesis layer. So for example, let's go and select this Bode vibraphone. Let's try and choose another sound now, maybe this brass muted. Or the staccato. See how these sounds evolve? Let's try the Celesta. I think this will work on this one. And then if I want, I can just go into the layer, and as you can see, we have quite a few parameters. We have volume, panorama, width. Width is really interesting because it can make the layer super wide. Then we have our ADSR envelope. We have our scent effects, so I can have reverb, for example. Delay. And transform. Transform is especially interesting because it allows you to add convolution impulses to your sounds, and you can get some really interesting results. I'm going to show you this in a second. Then we have a filter section where we can choose from a range of filters. Full with distortion, filter envelope, and velocity modulation. Then we have the effects section where we have 4 slots of effects per layer and a channel EQ. And then on top of that, we have the motion controls. So this can be LFO, it can be a step sequencer, and it can also be an arpeggiator. So there are a lot of options if you want to animate your sound. Then if you click on this icon, you're presented with all these different controls. So let me show you how you can start creating a sound from scratch. If I go to load here, then you will see that we have all the presets from metal and ice, right? So if you click on this icon here, you will find the initial metal and ice preset. So I will double click on this, and now I have a completely empty instance of materials, metal and ice. So if I play, I don't get any sound. So let's start exploring the layers. I'm going to go to this first layer and I'm going to experiment with some of the sounds that we have here. And these are completely raw, okay? So these, I can even filter them if I want to, so I can have instruments, just the synths, or sound effects. Okay, so if I go to instruments, you will find very interesting, Bode bucket. Fortepiano. And these are all randomized, as you can see. Random reattacks. Staccato. Okay, I'm gonna play some more of the sounds just because it's so much fun. Celesta. Beautiful. Dulcet tone. Electric piano. And these are the completely raw sounds. Beautiful. Struck. E-bow guitar. Tack piano is definitely one of my favorites. Tubular bells. And the list goes on. Let's go to synths now and let's try the bowed ice. And you will see that for the sampled engine we have two layers. So this is layer B and this is layer A. So even with the samples, you have a lot of flexibility when you want to blend the different layers. Let's go for the sound effects that I think are really interesting in this library. Let's try the breaking impact. They're also randomized. Chain rattle. That's beautiful. Bowl and lid. Brain strike. I love chatter. Chatter storm. Let's check out the layers for this one. Let's make it wide. Let's try the synths now. I'm going to try this one, bending nails. And as you can see, because this is a granular synthesis layer now, we have all the different controls here. So as you can see now, we have the synth edit option here in the settings. So and why don't we go ahead and try out the filters here? Maybe I want to add a little bit of envelope and just create a little bit of a slow attack. Why don't we go ahead and try out some of the effects with the sound? I'm gonna go here and maybe I might go and add a frequency shifter. Let's try this. Beautiful. And I can have 3 more insert effects. But what I want to show you here is the send effects. And the one thing that I definitely want to show you is the transform effects. Now with the transform, I have more options. In order to find these options, you can go to master here. And as you can see, here we have all the different parameters for reverb, for delay, and for the transform itself. So as you can see, we have different types. And these are impulse responses, so they can really transform the sound. So let me try a few of them. I'm going to try the gong, okay? See that? Now let's try the reverse toys. It's super cool, very interesting sounds. Let's try the metal drone. And this becomes even more interesting when you add a little bit of sustain to the sounds, a little bit of reverb. Let's try the sprinkles. super cool, right? All these little details. Now, okay, why don't we start working a little bit with this sound? So we have this sound. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of motion. So I'm gonna go here to the motion page and I'm going to turn on the LFO. And now let's go ahead and modulate the grain duration. So now this LFO will modulate the grain duration, which is actually this parameter. Let's have a listen. So this adds quite a bit of unpredictability to the sound. Now if I go to the step sequencer, again I can do exactly the same thing. I can just go here and create a step sequencer, then set it to a destination, maybe the cutoff. And this is just by using one single layer. Now let me go ahead and add a second layer here, and maybe for this one I'm going to choose, what about if we choose one of these brass random flutter sounds. Let's make it wide. And together. So now I've added just 2 layers. Let's go ahead and add a third one, and I'm going to go for a sound effects one now. Maybe the chatter. I want to use the chatter on this one. Let's see. Now, here's the clever bit. If you want to make these layers evolve even more, you can do this here. So as you can see, we have this nice slider here. This, I can either control it using my mode wheel, or I can automate the motion by clicking on auto motion. And this is where things become really interesting. So let me show you first how you use the mode wheel to begin with, okay? So as you can see, nothing happens. Why? Because I haven't set this to do anything. So as you can see, we have 4 parameters that we can automate with this slider. Now, in order to determine how much of this parameter is going to modulate each layer, you click on this button here, and here you can set the range where the modulation is going to take place. So let's say I want to create some motion for panning for this synth, this first layer. I can just do this. I can set the range. And now when I move my mode wheel, see, only this synth layer goes left and right. Let me isolate it so that you can hear more clearly. So what I really like to do is set this to auto motion. And I can do this with the panning, I can do this with a filter. And the distortion. As well as the volume. Now if I want to limit the depth of all the layers, I can just do it using these sliders here. And I can also invert the modulation depth. So instead of going right to left, it will go left to right. So let me go ahead and do this for the brass as well. Let's try and do something different here. And also let's try add some more distortion for the brass. And let's bring in the chatter now. And for this one, let's automate the panning. Let's have it right here. And you know, since I'm at it, now I have this layer on the left. Let's add one on the right. So I'm going to press the plus symbol and I'm going to go for, let's see, what should we do? Let's try another synth. And in this case, let me try the Ice Traveler. And this one is a wavetable layer. Let's have a listen. I think I'm going to have a slower attack for this one. Reverb, a little bit of delay, and some transform as well. Perfect. Now let's introduce it with the other layers and add some filter cutoff modulation for this one. So it's that easy to put together a sound in materials, metal and ice. And I've been talking the entire time, so it's extremely simple to create such deep, multi-layered sounds. Now, if you want to add more effects on top of this, we can go to Master and then we can go to Post Effects. And here we have a general EQ for the entire instrument. We have a compressor, a saturator and an optimizer. So there you go, this is materials, metal and ice. In my opinion, a very versatile instrument, great for cinematic sounds or sounds that you've never heard before. I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you make some great music with it, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.